Woohoo! Hi, how are you? Welcome. Are you up for a story? Good. I'd like to share one with you. She loved it when he called and invited her out on a date. She'd get all dressed up, and then she'd sit and wait for him to arrive. And when he finally did arrive, they'd choose a great place to go for dinner. They'd order great food. But better than all that was always the conversation. Because, see, he was in business, and she was fascinated with business. Sometimes she'd bring something that she'd been writing and working on, and she'd ask him if he could take a look at it. And he always would. And he'd say, "Wow, you're a natural. You're gifted. You need to do a little more of this." She hated to see those evenings come to an end because, you see, he was a great date. He was her hero. Of course, back then, he was her only date because she was 7 and he was her dad. Aww. Pretty cool, huh? Well, fast forward a number of years, and he said, if you really have an interest and a passion for business, you gotta go to graduate school, because you know what graduate school will do? It'll give you the extra edge, right? So she did that. She got to graduate school, and one night, she so needed a date. She called her father, and she was in tears. She said, "Dad, every time I submit a chapter of my thesis to my professor, you know what he does? He writes across the page, 'This sucks. You're a lousy writer.'" He'd listen, and then he'd say, "Rest if you must, but never ever quit. Always be willing to fight one more round." She took his advice, got through that graduate program, and even entered another. And then, shortly after that, she was in business. And one night the phone rang. She didn't answer it. She was hoping it was going to be her dad because they still talked business. Her husband answered the phone. But you know how sometimes you can glance over at someone and hopefully through their facials get a hint of who it might be? Well, she did that. And she knew instantly that something was wrong. Not sure if it was the tone, the pause, maybe it was the tears. What they learned from that phone call is her father had been in a very serious car accident. And then the phone rang a second time. And what they learned from that phone call is that her father was the only fatality in a 7-car pileup. That phone call, it changed my life because I lost my dad. I lost my hero, and I lost a great date. I lost the man who believed in me so unconditionally. He inspired me to stand out and believe in myself. And just when you begin to wonder if the pain and the emptiness of losing someone that's that big and that significant in your life can ever go away, I realized I had a choice. You see, I could either continue to grieve and check out, or I could stand out. And I could be the kind of leader that my father talked to me about when I was as young as 7 years old. And so I made a commitment at that point in my life to study, to write about, and inspire people like you to be stand-out leaders. And what I want to do is I want to share a couple of things that I've learned in my life through my journey and my study of leadership. So what I need my slides up. Here you go. So, in order to ask and inspire you to stand out, I got to see if I can take a look at you. Here's the key word, not. Is there anybody in this audience right here who is not on Facebook? Anybody? Oh, there are some of you. Okay, well, here's the deal. Most of us are on Facebook, right? Right? Well, I'm on Facebook, believe it or not, and I saw something that a friend of mine posted, so what do? If you like it, you like it or you repost it, right? Well, I reposted this image because I liked it, and I also thought it had incredible relevance for you here today. So this is what I reposted. See, you would have checked like on that one too, huh? If you haven't already done that. Why do I share this with you today? I share it with you today because I know. This morning, we've had the chance to laugh out loud, right? All morning long, all day long, I suspect you've been nudging your neighbor, you've been having conversations, and you are either saying or you are thinking, oh my gosh, right? You know where I'm going with this, right? Oh, no, you don't, because see, here's what I believe. My hope and my prayer is that for each and every one of you, every presentation, all day long, and for the rest of your life, you will be saying, WTF. What's the future? The future is in your hands. The future is in your heads. The future is in your hearts. The future is in your choices. The future is in your actions and your behaviors. Stand out. What do I mean by stand out? 3 things that I'm going to cover with you. Notice, lead, and disrupt. Let's talk about notice first. I'm talking about noticing stuff that's going on in your world. I know we live in a global world, but let's start small so we can grow big, okay? Here's the deal. What does notice mean? Well, we can't notice what's going on around us unless we are aware that there is permanent and pervasive white noise that inhibits us from noticing the opportunities that we could invest our gifts and our talents and our dreams and our desires into. What do I mean by white noise? Here's a very clear example. We live in San Diego, we live in Kensington. Right below our home is a canyon. And right below that canyon is the 8 freeway. And it's a very busy freeway. If you were to be a guest in our home and wanted some fresh air at night, you'd open your windows, and that freeway noise would do what? It would bother you. It would disrupt you. It would keep you awake at night. You would notice it. We have lived in that home for 18 years. I don't hear it. My kids don't hear it. My husband doesn't hear it. It is white noise to us. Doesn't bother us. Now, that's harmless noise, isn't it? It doesn't hurt anybody, the freeway noise. But let's think about that in a different context. What other white noise is permanent and pervasive in your life? What did Andrew say? He said it's the routine of life that doesn't allow us to see the mountain of opportunity before us. What did Larry Smarr say? He said, hey, listen, there are food, commercials, and media that causes us and draws us to eat things that aren't good for this. Okay, so here's the deal. That is white noise. It's permanent and pervasive, and we are blinded to it. So think about Katy Perry's lyrics. She said, I'm not on cloud 9 anymore. I'm not blind anymore. I'm wide awake. You like that, huh? I like it too. It's a great song. I actually flipped through the radio stations to look for it. It's not on as much as it used to be. So what, I know, can you help me with that? Just download it, right? And what am I thinking? So white noise, permanent and pervasive in our lives. I want to tell you something. I have 3 of you. Let me introduce you to my 3. Taylor Grace, who's 21, Aubrey, who's 17, and they are here, and they are in the back, and I can't see them, but hi. And then little Dylan, he's 11. And just as my father used to tell me when I was growing up, he'd say, Jackie, you are known by the company you keep. I tell my 3 children that constantly. Dylan, girls, you're known by the company you keep. Keep great company. But in order to keep great company, you have to be great company. And what you have to realize is what you put in for fuel makes a difference. What you put in up here also makes a difference, right? You know, you might not even realize it, but when you watch the Kardashians, sorry, I know you do, or Jersey Shores, I know you do that too. You might not think it's having an impact, but I'm here to tell you, it's having an impact. It matters. What you put in here and what you put in here and what you put in your heart, that creates who you are today, and that attracts or distracts people from you. You're known by the company you keep. That company can either draw you up so you can stand out, or drag you down where you want to check out. Choose your company wisely. Notice, now lead. What do I mean by lead? Well, I made a commitment. When my dad died, I said, here's the deal. I'm going to study standout leaders. And my journey started in graduate school. So my doctoral dissertation, I'm going to study leadership. And you know what? I started with one of the best companies in the world, Southwest Airlines. But what I will tell you is I did not study him. And he is a phenomenal leader. Let me introduce you to him. This is Herb Kelleher, the chairman emeritus and the founder of Southwest Airlines. My husband studied him in his dissertation and claimed that Herb Kelleher is a transformational leader, and I believe he is. But as I was watching that study unfold, I realized we needed to do more for leadership, because I don't believe in my head and I don't believe in my heart that leadership is about a white guy that sits at the top of a corporate pyramid. Thank you. Someone clapped in the back. You could clap too. Leadership, as I went to Southwest Airlines for my dissertation, I said, I want to study leadership relationships where people in all places of the organization, not at the top of the hierarchy, but in all places of the organization, are locking arms in order to effect and create positive change. That's what I studied. And you know what I discovered? I discovered this. I discovered leadership is not a chip. Leadership is not a part of the DNA that you're born with. Leadership is not a badge. Leadership is not a degree. Leadership is not age-specific. Leadership is not gender-specific. It's just not. Leadership isn't Kool-Aid that you drink. At this point, you can't inject it and get it. Maybe later we can, but not yet. Leadership is a choice. And countless times in every single one of your days, you will be called upon to step out of your comfort zone and step into an uncomfortable place where you have noticed something that is worthy of your time and your attention and your talents. And then you get to create a positive disruption. And that's the next part of standing out. What is positive disruption? I started my study of leadership with Herb Kelleher. And just last week, I got to do my most recent study of leadership when I was at a conference in Dallas. And I was one of the speakers, and one of the other speakers was Milo. And I needed to get to know Milo. Milo's 11 years old, and he spoke to a conference of executives. 11 years old. And you know why he spoke to a conference of executives? Because Milo noticed something, he led, and then he created a positive disruption. When Milo was 9, he decided he was going to go strawless. He was going to be straw-free. Why? Because when he went to a restaurant in order to drink, they would automatically bring him a straw. And he was strawless, straw-free. So he said, that's not right. You know why he was strawless and straw-free? because he realized that 500 million straws a day go into our landfills. That's how many we use in a day. He's a little environmentalist. He said, you know what, just to put that number in perspective, that's enough straws in any given day to fill 46,000 big yellow school buses. He said that's not right. So he has dedicated himself and his time to creating a movement, a positive disruption, a positive change, where he asks policymakers, restaurant owners, and people like you and me to create an offer first policy, and then for all of us to go strawless. I love it. Notice, lead, disrupt. And then there's Brent. Brent I met last summer. And Brent was in a workshop that I do for the University of San Diego on this kind of stuff. And after being in the program for 2 days, he came in on Wednesday, and what Brent said is, he said, you know what, I gotta share my story. We said, please do. He said, I'm guilty. I've been, ignoring my sister for weeks now. She's become white noise in my life, and I've checked out on her. See, she's been complaining all summer long about the fact that she can't ride a bike. He said, and she's moaning and groaning about it day in and day out. And so what I did is I just let her be, let my mom and dad deal with it. And then I realized I could help. So on that Tuesday afternoon, Brent loaded her bike into the back of his car. He loaded her into the car, and he took her to a park that was just far enough away that she couldn't run home if she got super frustrated and freaked out. He said, we stayed in that park all afternoon, and he said, I gotta be honest with you, it was uncomfortable. It wasn't fun until she got it. And she learned how to ride a bike. Brent noticed he was ignoring a mountain of opportunity in front of him, the opportunity to create a disruptive change in his sister's life. But that's only a small piece of it. Not only did he just create a disruption in her life, but he created a disruption in their family and in his relationship with her that will last a lifetime. On December 1, 1955, a young woman went to work. At the end of a long day, she boarded a bus and she sat where she was supposed to sit, and that is at the back of the bus. And then as the bus started to fill, the bus driver pulled over and he asked her and some other passengers that were sitting around her if they would be willing to give up their seats for the white passengers who were standing. And on that day, Rosa Parks refused. You know this story. You've read the history. But what you might not know is legend has it that a graduate student asked Rosa Parks years later, why'd you do it? It was gutsy. It was dangerous. It was disruptive. I will tell you that Rosa Parks did not say, well, I woke up in the morning and I said, woohoo, I'm going to notice, I'm going to lead, and I'm going to disrupt. It's not what she said. What Rosa Parks said is she said, I was tired. And let's be crystal clear. It was not her feet that were tired. It was her spirit that was tired. When we're tired, we have a couple of choices, right? We can either check out or we can stand out. Deeply planted in every single one of you are goals, dreams, hopes, talents, gifts, skills, and desires. And in order to be an architect of the future, not just the future, but your future, share, lock arms, and go forth and stand out. God bless you on that journey. Thank you.